Good morning. So today I thought I'd talk about the traits of a creative empath because in my 20 odd years of studying all of this sort of thing, actually, it will go back to when I was doing my teacher's training, when I was doing my early childhood development certificate. So it goes back to when I was 18, so longer than 20 years because I'm 52 now. But um, I have taken it more seriously in the last 20 years because when I moved to the UK 25 years ago, on the 23rd of August 2000, I moved here. 23rd of August in the year 2000, I moved to the UK. And it was when we moved to Derbyshire from Liverpool, just before I got pregnant with my boy Thomas. It's about 20 years ago because it was when I started doing readings for people, and my readings became more like therapy than predictive because I started picking up on the patterns, certain patterns of people that I was reading in that in Liverpool, and that I started like it all started coming together then. I just didn't put my theories into practice until I got students in 2016, and then that's when I slowly started forging ahead with quantum magnetics and, developing myself as an occult scientist. And you absolutely cannot master the occult like being able to make it rain in a day and a half without having perfect control over the way your brain and mind works and your body. Like everything has to be completely aligned, because after you finish your ascension, and it's only creative empaths that are offered the ascension. Even Jesus was a magician. He was in a scene, and they were master manifestors. They were master magicians. I mean, he turned a loaf of bread into to feed a whole village, and took a fish and like fed a whole village. He was a master of scene. He turned water into wine and all of that. He was a magician. In order to master your supernatural powers that you get in your ascension, you have to have perfect mind, body, spirit alignment. And obviously I have that now, because it used to take me about 5 days to make it rain. And now it's a day and a half. When I first started, it could be like a week or two. So it's only creative empaths that are offered the chance to have an ascension, because they're the only ones who have the mind powerful enough to handle the supernatural abilities that you're given while you ascend. Because it's when you go through your ascension that you start discovering your abilities, your secret special abilities, even though your family might know that you have them, or there were signs of you having special gifts when you were a child. You won't fully know what they are, and you certainly won't fully master them until after you've had your ascension, because it takes basically 40 plus years for you to have an ascension. So you don't like have a spiritual awakening in your 20s or 30s and then suddenly go through an ascension. You are born ascending when you are a creative empath, and there are signs to it. And I have been able to categorize it, and I can spot a creative empath a mile away. And then I usually watch them ascend, or I help them when they go through the underworld stage of ascension, because what happens is, once you get to the peak and you are chosen for your ascension, you go through like a dark night of the soul. You go through um, what I call the underworld stage of your ascension. That's when you start to demagnetize from everyone and everything around you that is no longer beneficial to your spiritual evolution. You start removing people, or having people removed from your life. You will basically have a massive tower moment where everything is stripped from you, and the only people and the only things left in your life are those that are master maker material. The only tools you're left with are the master maker tools. That includes people and gifts and, your job or whatever. And it is stressful. It is psychologically traumatic when you go through a trip through the underworld, because you're being forced to look at your life. You're being forced to pay off karmic debt. You're being forced to look at the choices you've made and who you've allowed in your life to manipulate your life to get it to the point where you've had to have a tower moment. But the tower moment has to happen. It is hard, it is brutal, and it will even seem like it is unfair. But it is 100% necessary, because it is a purification process. You know, like if with King Nebuchadnezzar, um, how we put the three in the furnace, and then they saw a fourth in the furnace, and they came out unscathed. This furnace was so hot that even the soldiers who were preparing the furnace were getting burned. And yet when the three went in there were four that were seen, and when the three came out, they were unscathed. And Nebuchadnezzar hit the ground and realized that God was real. And, you know, remember, he was forced to eat grass, and because he was so humiliated and humbled by the presence of God, and the fact that the three had an angel with them while they were, because, you know, he was killing them. So yeah, so that's called a trial by fire. You get put in the furnace, but it's a purification process. It is to burn away anything and everyone that is toxic, that is dangerous, that is harmful, that is not conducive to your personal growth. Because in that moment, when that tower, you know, when you go into the underworld and that tower comes down, you have been chosen to be something special, to be something supernatural, to have a gift, to have an ability that is going to turn you into a worldwide leader, into a leader that leaves a mark in history. But you have to earn it. And so there are traits, there are certain things that all creator empaths who are chosen to have supernatural abilities to stand in their X-Men powers that they have from birth, that are exceptional. See, a creative empath is an exceptionally rare high function. I call them high functioning creative empaths. And they often get misdiagnosed with things like autism and ADHD. I can tell you now that creative empaths will not be vaccinated. A creative empath has a pure body. They are not people that have vaccinations, because I'll explain it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How you know you're a creative empath is your mother will have had either a traumatic pregnancy or traumatic birth, giving birth to you. So all creative empaths are born fighting for survival. You are conceived fighting for survival. Your birth or your mother's pregnancy will have been exceptionally traumatic. And you will have, usually you're born with like disabilities. See, for example, my mum, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer when she was pregnant with me. And I was not supposed to be born. So the fact that I'm here in itself is a miracle. I'm the baby of 7. There's 14 years difference between me and my eldest sister. But yeah, they did not think that I was going to survive. And if I did survive, they thought I was going to be severely disabled. I was born with a degenerative spinal disease and an arthritic spine. I was born with crooked hips and feet. I can remember they used to put these metal things on my legs and that to straighten my feet, and it was really painful. And then I'd have to walk on this special I remember it was like cardboard, I think, or paper, and they'd make me walk on it, and she'd like put marks around my feet and that to see if my feet were straightening up, because my feet were very crooked. My feet have never straightened up. When I buy new shoes, it's really, really painful for me, because the shoes often force my feet to like straighten, and it's really painful. I was also born with the irises of my eyes are slightly off kilter. I have I'm astigmatic as well, but yeah, my irises are slightly off kilter, and I have an extra little teeny tiny stomach. Like I've got this little bit on my stomach. It's like a teeny tiny little. Um, what I was told is that it looks like a half of a kidney bean, but it's actually like a little extra piece to my stomach that they didn't know I had until I had to have my life-saving hernia surgery after I had my boy. And they keep removing it, but it keeps growing back. So they've said we're just going to leave it because it's obviously part of you. And so sometimes when I sit, especially now, because of, I went through the torture, I was tortured by the NHS, and, starved and tortured. Now it gets really painful because I can't sit for too long or stand for too long. When I sit for too long, because my stomach is now so damaged, it presses against that extra bit of my tummy, and it gets really, really painful, and I can get really bad, it's like heartburn. But yeah, it's not nice now, and because I've lost so much weight and all of that. But you will absolutely have had a traumatic pregnancy with your mum, or a traumatic birth. They were shocked when I came out and I looked like a normal baby. They didn't know that I had problems with my back and that until I was 3 or 4, I think. But yeah, so the other thing is that I'm the baby of 7. You will absolutely feel like you don't belong in your family. You'll question whether you are like. I used to get told I was adopted, and I used to cry, and my mum used to say, "Oh, don't listen to them." But seriously, I used to think maybe I am adopted because I am nothing like my family. I'm nothing like them. Like you're the odd one out. You are absolutely the black sheep of the family. You will bear the brunt of everybody else's trauma in your family. You will witness traumas in your family, and you will absorb it and take it in and learn from it as well, because you will bear the brunt of the abuse. You will come from abuse, whether it is, and well, I say whether it is, but creative empaths, every single creative empath I have ever interviewed or studied or observed, has come from um, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and mental abuse, and financial abuse. Because I used to get my money stolen, and that even when I was little. When you earn pocket money, you get stolen from. You will absolutely be the butt of everybody's joke. You will absolutely be traumatized by the people who are supposed to love you the most. But it is to toughen you up from a very young age, because what's going to happen is, after you have had your ascension and you've stepped into your power, and you're starting to become the leader that you're meant to become, that's when you start having presidents and prime ministers and militaries coming after you, and government departments like the NHS and that. And if you don't survive your childhood with a thick skin, you are not going to survive the last trial at the end before you get justice and are able to step into your calling that was intended for you before your conception. So if you can't handle your family treating you like crap, you're not going to survive if, like, you get locked up like I did, and targeted by presidents and prime ministers and billionaires and that, like I was, and still am, because Keir Starmer's still after me. Yeah, you won't survive it. So it starts from childhood. Your training starts from childhood. So if anybody ever says to you, "Oh, I'm going through an ascension," or "I've just had a spiritual awakening and now I'm ascending," um, and they're in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, they're lying. They're going through a spiritual awakening, but they're certainly not going through an ascension, because you wear your ascension on your sleeve right up until you go through your trip through the underworld. And the thing is that when you go through your trip through the underworld and you start coming out of it again, because you've been saved, right? When the salvation hits you, you go through a period of extreme love. and you want to talk about what you're going through because you want to share your experience, because you want to share the love, because you're then saying to other people going through it, I know what you're going through. I'm going to get you out of it. This is what you need to know. Here are the tools to become your master maker. I will help you because I am a master maker, and this is what you need to know. Anybody who suddenly, is, oh, I'm going through an ascension, don't believe them, because like you will always tell when a true high functioning creative empath is genuine, because man, do they have a story to tell. Their backstory will make movies. Their backstory will be written about in history. Their backstory will become famous. It will become the stuff of legends. And my backstory, I mean, this is why when we build the foundation, we are going to make write the story of my life. I mean, the Legend of Brehena. Everything I write is the story of my life. Teaching people about the Ascension process is pretty much what Andre's Dragon, now the Legend of Brehena, is all about. But I'm literally going to make a movie about my life, where I'm going to get an actress to, I wanted it to be a rom-com, but I think honestly it's probably going to be a thriller, a horror, a drama. It's going to be all sorts. But I am absolutely going to make a movie about my life. And we're going to make it at the foundation with our QE2 production company. QE2 because I'm naming it after Queen Elizabeth II, because again, my backstory. So one of the other common traits for a high functioning creative empath is that from childhood they will already be experiencing paranormal activity that they won't understand. They will, see things and hear things and experience things and predict things and know things that they shouldn't know. High functioning creative empaths are often called wise souls as babies, or an old soul as babies. They are children who know more than they should for their age. They are wise beyond their years, because they are so tapped in with the creation frequency, the atomic frequency, the God frequency, whatever you want to call it. They are handed information by God, by the ancestors, that they shouldn't know from a very young age, which is often why you're targeted for abuse, because a lot of people will be jealous and envious of the respect that you get from adults around you. When I was 7, 8 years old, I used to do palm readings for my teachers at primary school. When I was at Fairfield Primary School, I had a teacher in particular. There were a few teachers that used to come and have their palms read, but there was one in particular, I just can't remember her name. I just remember she had the most beautiful long blonde hair. She was absolutely stunning, and her fiance died in the Mount Erebus disaster. And she would come to me for palm readings, and she knew what I was. And so when I used to get picked on at school, because like teachers had a real problem with me, they used to say I was a smartass, that I had an attitude problem, but it's because they were idiots. Like most of the teachers at school will find you as a threat. You will absolutely hate every minute of being at school, because they are not teaching you what you need to know, because they're teaching you stuff that grounds your mind. Like with meditation, right? When you go to school, you are taught stuff that like tries to cement you stuck into the ground, when you are a mind that needs to be floating up high and creating and imaginating. And so a lot of teachers will have a problem with you. You might even get, they might even say you've got learning disabilities, because you're not learning like the other kids, but it's because you're not grounded intellectually like everybody else. You are not a nail in the ground. They are trying to hammer you as a nail into the ground, when you're not a nail or the ground. You are the air around the hammer and the nail. Do you know what I mean? You are not for conventional education All high functioning creative empaths learn more once they leave school, once they step away from the constraints and the confinement of um, governmental education, the governmental indoctrination. Once you step away from that, that's when you flourish. When you have control over what you're learning and how you learn it, that's when you blossom. I'm an autodidact, so I learn as I go and I teach myself because I know how to teach myself. I know how best to retain information. But eh, because of my gift, I'm not allowed to know anything beforehand. So I walk into everything that I say and do completely blind, because part of the way that God wants to teach people that all this is real is by using me as the example of blind faith. I'm the example of what happens when you have blind faith. I walk into everything not knowing how I'm going to get out of it or not knowing the end result. I have to uncover things and discover things as I'm going. I have to learn as I go, as part of the proof that you can take someone who's a heathen, because I didn't believe in God when this first started, that you can take someone who is a non-believer, you can take someone who absolutely doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and a full view of everybody prove to the world that they're something that people need to pay attention to, because God is real. All this is done to prove that God is real, and God being the creation, the creative atom. So all high functioning creative empaths will not do well in school. They will not like school at all. School will be really, really hard for them. And like I said, you will often be diagnosed with learning disabilities or ADHD and autism and all that, but it's bollocks. It's simply because these teachers and these doctors and these therapists um, think like the hammer and nail and not the air around it. You are air and they are earth. So they think everything they know comes from a handbook or a manual. Whereas you make it up as you go, because you live in the creation frequency, because your mind is often thinking of the next thing to do, or working on the project or the idea, or the mathematic formula or the invention or whatever. That's where your mind resides, up in the frequency of creating and imagination. Whereas education, like school and classes and doctors and therapists and all that, are all from a manual, from a handbook. They know what they know because they retained the information that they were taught, and then they pass that information out. They cannot think outside the realms of creativity and imagination. So when they see you being a bit weird or coming up with concepts that are foreign to them, they will immediately go back to the handbook and go, oh, that's this, oh, that's that. Or you might have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different projects on the go. Oh, it's ADHD, oh, it's autism. But it's not. It's because you live in the realms of the imagination and creativity, and they don't. They're grounded. They're like an immovable rock when it comes to thinking outside the handbook. And 99.9% of society live by the indoctrinated handbook, by what they are told to believe. And high functioning creative empaths, we can't function like that. And so therefore you're seen as odd, you're seen as the weirdo. You're seen as the black sheep or the odd one out, because you're not like everybody else. But you're not like everybody else, and that's what you need to understand. All these kids, all these teenagers, all these young people desperately trying to be like everybody else, when they should be being proud of the fact that they're not like everybody else, because everybody else are the ones that get the vaccinations and poison their system and shut their bodies down. And if you, because you're a free thinker, because you're somebody who goes with the flow, who is basically, you exist on the tides of energy, on the flows of energy, and everybody else is, like grounded earth, like the immovable mountain sort of thing. You're expected to bypass everything that everybody else is doing. You're people who will not like social media. You're people who will not like attention, even though you are destined to have a job where all eyes, or a professional career where all eyes are going to be on you. You're introverted. The only way you're an extrovert, they say that scorpions are introverts until they're extroverts. We are extroverts only around the people that we trust 100%. The only people that know the real me are the ones who don't judge me, and that's my sons. Even in my family, who are all like, practical magic and have their own abilities and gifts and that, even in my family, I'm the black sheep. They do not understand me at all. The fact that they turned their back on me after my ex-husband lied to them, and they let my boys be abused and blah, 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 even though they knew that the whole reason why I was locked up was because of racial discrimination and bigotry, because they did not understand the Indigenous way of life at all, and they deemed it as a mental illness. My own family turned their back on me and said, just take the medication, because not only do they not understand what I have become, I was a threat to the others who pride themselves on having abilities. I had one sister defend me, and boy did she defend me to the death. She still doesn't necessarily understand me, but she loves me enough that she went to war with the rest of the members of my family to defend me. And when you go through that underworld, I promise you now, you are going to lose people that you would have bet money on would have had your back, who won't. Because what happens is, a lot of these people, when they see you fall, will use that as the opportunity to kick you when you're down, to get you back for things that you won't even know that you offended them for, like years ago. They'll use that as the opportunity to band together to kick you when you're down, because they will not think for 1 second that you're going to get back up and rise like a phoenix. So they think, get it in now, make them feel better. They use your tower moment as the opportunity to hurt you for things that maybe offended them, that you didn't even know you'd done, or, because they're jealous, or they were jealous or envious or whatever, not realizing that when you get back up, you're coming back up as Goliath. A good version of Goliath, not the one that David's going to take down. You end up becoming David, taking Goliath down, like me, taking presidents and prime ministers and the NHS and police departments down. I've had to take on, I'm fighting the US Army and Air Force because of Rocio, Ray Nunez. My lawsuit is against the NHS, the West Yorkshire Police, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. Like, I've had to go up against them all. They've stolen from me. You will get, because you're a high functioning creative empath as well, and because you come up with ideas and concepts and things that nobody else has come up with, because you're a threat to everybody else, especially teachers and bosses and managers and professionals and people who think that they are above you. When you come up with things that prove them wrong, that are better than their concepts, that resolve or solve crimes or issues or whatever that they couldn't solve themselves or come up with themselves, you will immediately be targeted for abuse and theft. Your identity will be stolen. My students, my exes, all of them. Elon Musk stole my ideas, stole my identity. Elon Musk tries so hard to be he tries to pretend to be like a high functioning creative empath, but he's not. He's a fraud. He's a psychopathic narcissist, and a psychopathic narcissist, they have no empathy gene. They don't know how to show empathy, so they have to mimic it. So he tried to mimic me. He tried to mirror me. in every way, shape, or form, stealing my ideas. You know, his healing towers that he invested with Donald Trump, they're actually to kill people. They kill people. They create, you know, the floods in North Carolina, that's because of him. And then, because then he tries to hand people his Starlink um, stuff so that he can control through the Wi-Fi, the Schumann resonance, to get people to like riot. You know how you see people running around the streets just randomly stabbing people and just random acts of violence and random riots and all that? That's because of things like the Starlink and the satellite, because they use the Schumann resonance to control the brain waves in people's brains to tell them how to act and what to think and what to do. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but the evidence is all there on my ex. I have researched this within an inch of its life. Even if you go to my Instagram, you will even see that even the Scottish government have admitted that they've got those machines, that they've got the weapons that they will use to target specific individuals, and use like the 5G towers and that in order to tell people to riot or to do something violent, or create havoc, or do something bad. So then they've got the excuse to come in with the police and the digital ID and all of that, like with Keir Starmer, so that then they can control the masses and create an authoritarian state. But because I'm speaking up about it, and I have been speaking up about it since 2016, Hillary Clinton really doesn't like me, because all of this is so that they can distract the masses, so they can steal our children and, harvest organs and all of that. But because God put me here to speak up about it all, I'm public enemy number one to a lot of these people. And you will be the enemy to a lot of people, whether it's bosses in your company, professors at your college, teachers at your school, your own family members, the police, because I cannot stand any form of corruption or injustice, like at all. My brain can't tolerate it. My brain can't handle it. And that's the thing. You will often be called, you'll be labeled as like crazy or violent, or, because you will often find from childhood, you will get into a lot of situations where you are forced to defend the underdog. You will always be the one that like protects the kids from the school bullies. I was always defending the nerds at school from the school bullies, but these nerds were my friends, and some of them I didn't even know. But you get called a thug and all that because your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, when it is stimulated with, see, your DLPFC in your brain is what determines right from wrong, justice and injustice, committing a crime and like being the hero. It's the part of your brain that determines right from wrong. So when you have, like, I reckon mine's the size of an apple. When you have like a large or a healthy dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, you cannot stand injustice. And high functioning creative empaths are like very gentle souls who, when they see someone who is under threat or a victim of an injustice, or they're being bullied or whatever and they don't deserve it, you immediately want to jump in to help. Often, you will be, a lot of them will get killed or stabbed, or, you will get hurt or injured a lot. You hear about these people that jump in to save people from knife attacks and get stabbed or, killed and all of that, because their DLPFC immediately needs to do something to protect the innocent person under threat. And so, you will find yourself often in a lot of very dangerous situations that you have to navigate your way out of, while you're growing up, because of the fact that when you see an injustice, you immediately have to act. A high functioning creative empath cannot stand any kind of laws being broken or any sort of injustice, whether it's, from, like the higher echelons of government, to like the neighbour. If they're being picked on, you have to say something, you have to do something, and you do it without even reacting. high functioning creative empaths will not do to you what was done to me. So a lot of people that did this to me were in the gaming industry, like Sumo Digital. They paid lawyers. They paid out for lawyers to defend my ex, who's under investigation for sexual assault, who was under investigation for rape, who is still under investigation for my historical sexual assault and for domestic violence and that. But because he lied to them to save his own skin, to cover up the fact that he was abusing our kids, like I even showed them evidence. So when this goes to court, I've got proof that I went to Sumo Digital and said to them, he's locking my kids inside. This is when I was locked up, and showed them video evidence of him lying to my kids about why he wasn't home after 36 hours and blah, blah, blah. They still paid lawyers to defend him against the people at Sumo who stood up against Sumo to say, he's hurting Debbie and her kids, you have to do something. There was a guy, this lovely guy called Luke Knuckles, who worked for Sumo Digital, who got fired because he defended me and my sons, and he had to take it to court. I don't know the outcome of it, but they fired him because he stood up for me and my sons and said, my ex is abusive, he's this, he's that, and the other thing, and they said, get out, you're fired. And so he had to go to court for unfair dismissal. And I will defend that man's name for as long as I live, because he's the only one who actually stood up to them in a court of law. So what happened to me is already documented in the justice system in courts because of that blessed little Luke Knuckles. And I've said to this day, when I start the foundation, when I start the entertainment factory, I would absolutely love to offer that man a job, and I'd give him a high paying, high position job as well, because he's very good at what he does. And he is absolutely a high functioning creative empath, the perfect example. Now, another common trait is that you will be around some form of addiction or another as a child. I wouldn't say it was addictions, but especially Indigenous people as well. I was around a lot of people in my family that were very, very heavy drinkers, like very heavy drinkers, alcoholics, people that smoked like chain smokers, and gambling. So you're around people who have these addictions, and it's up to you to break the cycle of addiction. You're here to pay off a lot of karmic debt for your ancestors and your family, and you're expected to break that cycle. I was also around domestic violence, as in us kids used to get the bells knocked out of us all the time by my mother, because she was a victim of domestic violence from her father, and she never broke the cycle with us kids. But my sister Erin and I, there were a couple of us siblings who broke that cycle of violence with our own children. So when you were around all of that, that abuse and all of the addictions and the unhealthy toxic habits of the core family, the ones that are responsible for raising you, they plant the seed. It's up to them to nurture the tree and grow it into something beautiful and healthy. When you're not around that, it's up to you to plant yourself and regrow yourself, which is why when you're going through an ascension, when you come up out of the underworld, you're basically you're a new seed that's been planted. So when you come up out of the underworld, you're responsible for growing yourself again. You have to learn all over again, because you've become a completely new person. You've shed the skin in the purification process of who you were before. So then you come up through the ground, the underworld, from all that trauma and pain and suffering. You grow again as a little seedling. And then, because the next stage of the ascension process after the underworld stage is the earth stage. And earth, obviously the plant, the tree, the seed, is when you grow yourself again. And the first thing you'll do when you come out of the underworld is change your location. You'll move, you'll change the way you dress, you'll change the people you hang out with, you'll change the way you make money, because the earth stage of ascension is everything to do with your physical reality, how you make money, where you live, your physical body. So you'll lose weight, you'll get fit, you become healthy, your eating habits change, all that sort of thing is the earth stage. And that's because you're a new seed that's been planted, because you're a whole new you. That's when you go into the earth stage, and that's when you start to grow and develop as the new person you've become. Your profession will change, what you do will change, how you do it will change, how you act, how you come across, what you look like, where you live, who you hang out with, what you eat, how you dress, everything will change. A lot of people, one of the first things they'll do is cut their hair or change their hair, because it's all to do with out with the old and with the new, shedding the old to allow the new to grow. And we go through cycles every 7 years. The cells in your body will change and shed every 7 years. And you'll go through these 7 year cycles right up until you finish your ascension. Once you finish your ascension, and you never truly finish your ascension, because there's always things that you're going to learn that are going to help enhance you. But once you get to the creation frequency stage and you're steadily there without having, tower moments or karmic loops come up and that sort of thing, once you're steady in the creation frequency, the stuff that you learn powers you up rather than forces you to have to go back down a few stages or a few steps and that sort of thing. So once you become that mighty oak tree, you become immovable within yourself, and you can't be denied. So you will be around, addictions and unhealthy, toxic patterns and behaviors when you're growing up, but it's because it is all a learning experience. It is also that by the time you get to the ascension process, you know that it's because that everything that you've learnt growing up, everything that you've experienced growing up, everything growing up is to help you pay off karmic debt or to put an end to toxic traits and behaviors. Because when you step into that ultimate power, you are going to be an example for millions of people throughout history forever. And God expects you to be the best example of yourself, so that those who come behind you, because what you need to understand as well is that when you're going through an ascension, you inspire a lot of other people to want to change as well. But only those who are truly destined, only those who are truly called to ascend will ascend along with you, but they kind of come up on your slipstream. As you're rising, they get pulled up as well, but it is up to them to maintain their ascension, not you. You are not responsible for helping other people ascend. You're responsible for helping yourself ascend. But you will be an example to so many people who see your rise that it will inspire them to want to make changes in their life as well, that they will look to you on what to do, when certain things happen in their life, but it is not up to you to fly back down to grab them. That's me. I'm an ascended master. I went first. I was the one that developed the science, because I was chosen to be the gatekeeper to say to everybody else, this is what you need to do. But for everybody else, because I'm the trailblazer, I'm the one who went first, but everybody else who comes after me, you just keep your eye on the light. Do not take your eye off the light while you are ascending, because if other people are pulling on you to help me, I need your help, I don't know what to do, blah, 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 then you're having to go back down to their level, which means that you can get caught up in their dramas, caught up in their emotional state, until you learn to protect your energy and to set boundaries of what you will and won't accept from people. And high functioning creative empaths will absolutely be buggers for punishment when it comes to wanting to save everybody. And it's very detrimental to your psychological development if, when you're saving yourself, you have to go back down to get other people who aren't as developed as you. Because then you absorb their heavy energy, you absorb their toxic energy, you absorb their negative energy that they haven't learned to fight themselves, and then that's more karma that's made it harder for you to rise again, because then you have to deal with their crap as well as your own in order to get rid of it so that you can rise again. So what I'm telling you is, if you are a high functioning creative empath and you've got people around you who see your rise and are changing themselves because they see that you're an inspiration, when they fall, you are not allowed to pick them up. They have to do it themselves. Show them this video, or say to them, I love you, I'm here for you. If you're, if they're desperate, you can do so much, but do not go back into that fire to get them, because until you have finished your ascension, and like I said, it takes 40 plus years to finish an ascension. So if you're under the age of 50, so, well, I mean, I think I was, what was I, like 44 when I started mine? If you're, just say you're under the age of 45, you haven't finished your ascension, you haven't even begun to finish your ascension if you're in your 20s and 30s. And other people have stumbled and fallen and are looking to you to help them, especially if you do readings. And I need your help, I don't know what to do, can you do a reading, blah, blah, blah. You have to say no. You have to walk away. You have to say to them, you've got to fix this yourself. You've got to find your own way out of it, because half of the learning is in the lesson. And if you are handing them the answers to their own ascension, they don't learn anything. They are expecting you to do the work for them. And you can't do the work for them. They have to do the work themselves. You are not there to ascend them. They are there to ascend themselves. And you can give them advice from a distance. You can love them from a distance, but do not get involved. They have to do it themselves. They have to learn to find the answers and to do this themselves. Otherwise, it's cheating and it's not a real ascension. And then what will happen is God or their ancestors will just keep giving them tower moments and taking more and more and more and more away from them until they learn their lesson and wake up and realize that, oh, okay, I'm in this alone. This is what I need to do. This is what I have to do, because the test of faith comes in every tower moment. How much do you want this? How much do you want to be a better person? How much do you want to expand on your powers? How much do you want to be known as an artist or a writer or a scientist or musician or inventor or comedian? Now, that's one of the other things that I realized I forgot to mention the other day. Comedians are, a lot of comedians are high functioning creative empaths. And the two best examples of a high functioning creative empath that I can give you that everyone's going to know is Jim Carrey, the comedian, and Michael Jackson. Remember I was saying the other day about how a lot of high functioning creative empaths are very childlike, and they will be, you get hounded and treated like crap by everybody. Your reputation will get ruined and everything. Michael Jackson, perfect example. Everything that happened to him, his childlike persona, the way that he surrounded himself with, the Neverland and all of that. Michael Jackson was absolutely probably the most famous high-functioning creative empath that you'll know. But comedians as well. See, a lot of comedians become comedians because they learn to use comedy to combat being bullied at school or within their family. And Jim Carrey, if you know his story, he went through an ascension process. He talks about it a lot, and yeah, his whole life and his whole demeanor changed once he went through his ascension, when he went through his dark night of the soul. But there are a lot of comedians who are high functioning creative empaths, because it takes a genius mind to be able to come up with a way to quell or quench the thirst of a toxic person or situation, um, by using comedy, especially because everything's done sort of ad lib or ad hoc. They'll just come up with something random that will make the person laugh or make everybody laugh. That takes a high level of intellectual power and genius to be able to make people laugh, and to make people of all personalities and of all walks of life in that laugh. That takes genius. So a lot of high functioning creative empaths will be, they'll have like a great sense of humour, but the best ones will turn it into comedy, like Jim Carrey. He's the only one I can think of that exists right now. Maybe Kevin Hart, but he's not someone who necessarily walks in the light. But I'm not. He's not my concern for judgment. He's not been put in my path for judgment. But if you know the stories, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But Jim Carrey is a perfect example, and now he uses his experience to teach other people. He's become more powerful and more respected as for his wisdoms now from his experience, than he ever was when he was just like a comedic actor, you know. Another common trait is that you will have failed relationships. Finding the right person for you will be an absolute disaster. You usually, because you live in the minds of the creative and imaginative, high functioning creative empaths, when they fall in love hard, because they know how to love, because they exist in the realms of love and imagination and creativity. But you will absolutely have failed marriages and failed relationships over and over and over again, because you don't learn your lesson, because you keep falling for the same people, because you will fall for the people that your mother was around when she was pregnant with you. And because when you're little, especially if you've got older siblings, when you see their failed relationships, you follow patterns, and it's up to you to break that pattern and save yourself for the right one, and the right one will come to you. I promise you. No high functioning creative empath is destined to be alone, because they are supposed to have protectors with them, and their protectors are the ones who for the high functioning creative empaths who are destined to make a change in the world, the gurus and the masters of their craft and all of that, they'll have protectors in their life that will come along, like they'll have their familiars, and they'll have their protectors who are like guardians to their heart. And see, people like me, because I'm a gatekeeper, my protector is supposed to be my husband. Not all of your protectors will be, people that you're in love with, but primarily, your protector is supposed to be the one who is like the other half of you. They are the mirror of you, because they understand everything about you. And therefore they are destined to be the ones to make sure that what you're here to do will be done correctly and without anybody else getting involved to take it away from you, because they understand the importance of your role or your calling or your position in life that you are yet to step into. So you will have failed relationships. Very, very few. If you're a high functioning creative empath and you've been in a long term relationship, then you're the rarest of them all. Because most of them will stay in relationships that they're not happy in, because they don't want to divorce for the sake of the kids, or because too much hassle, or oh well, we're together now, we might as well stay together, even though they're absolutely miserable. Whereas like when you find the right one for you in love, you're in love till the day you die. Your love will be told about in your story. Your relationship becomes that of fable. I mean, I'm single. I don't have anyone in my life, and I've been um, celibate for 10 years now because I'm keeping myself for my one true love. I thought it was my husband. Boy, was I wrong. But that's because I was an idiot back then and hadn't broken those cycles. But I'm saving myself for the person who is 100% compatible with me. And he doesn't have, and because that's the thing, your protector or your partner won't necessarily be another high functioning creative empath, because the role of guardian or the role of protector is literally that. They are there to make sure that every endeavor, see, like for me, for example, because I'm going to build the foundation and get all these high functioning creative empathic kids into the foundation to surround them with no education but just creativity and imagination, and just let them go, let them have at it with what it is that they're trying to master. My protector is supposed to be the man who um, becomes the barrier between me and the outside world, so that I can sit and create and come up with the ideas and the ways to keep these kids busy and keep my staff employed and keep money coming in. He's the one that makes sure that nobody comes between me and what I do. So if he knows that somebody is sniffing around trying to offer me contracts and deals and that he knows they're just trying to take advantage of me or get a piece of my pie by ripping me off or stealing my identity or anything like that, he's the one that's going to step in and stop it. If we're out in public, or if there's any trouble, if he senses any kind of trouble, I call him Buffalo, because um, totem buffalo is the perfect um, way to describe who my protector is. And totem buffalo is, he's very grounded. He can see everything on a ground level coming at him from every level. He is immovable when it comes to his love and loyalty and fidelity to me, but he is able to communicate with the spirit realms, the Great Spirit, which is where I am. I'm up there and he's down there, but he has the ability to speak my language because our hearts are compatible, our energy is compatible. The buffalo totem is basically like a earth spirit in a grounded earthly form. So he's somebody who doesn't take nonsense. He's somebody who's fiercely protective of his family. He's somebody who's very territorial when it comes to that which he loves, including me. But he knows how to speak my language because he understands where I'm coming from, because he is there. But his role in life is usually more like that of, in real life, he would probably be something like a police officer in the military, security guard, bodyguard, someone of power, someone who has the position to put the bodyguards in place, someone who has the authority, the knowledge, or the know-how to, when I hand him stuff, he makes it happen. When he knows I need something, he makes it happen, whether that's protection, money, food, comfort, like, because we're so intuitively linked. I've been seeing this man since I was 4 or 5 years old. I've been trying to find him since I was 4 or 5 years old. The mistake I made is that I kept thinking I was finding him in all the relationships I was having, and they weren't. They were false. They were, false masculines, false divine masculines, fake. But they were all part of the test, because when you don't get it right, God just keeps feeding you the same karmic lesson over and over and over again until you realize, now I know what I'm doing wrong. I keep falling for idiots. I keep falling for people with fetishes and losers and addictions and all of that. I keep falling for people who are on the dark side of life and who have no interest in stepping into the light. I keep thinking I could save them from their addictions and their negative behavior and their toxic patterns and that, because DLPFC, right? You want to help everyone. You want to save the world, because like why would people not want to feel the way you feel? after you've ascended, because when you get to the point where I am, you live a life of peace. Everything is so peaceful. Even when there's storms brewing around you, you just walk through it with not even nary a hair flickering in the wind, because you learn when to get involved and when not to get involved. And when you do have to get involved, you're so intuitively guided by God that any and all situations that you are then put in, you walk through it like it didn't even touch you. So why would people not want to live that kind of life? But then you have to get to a point where you realize their battle is not my battle. Their darkness is not my darkness. Everyone in my life knew what I was going through. Everybody in my life who watches from the shadows knows what I'm doing. They know what they can do to save themselves, but because they choose not to, and then continually keep trying to knock me down, proves that they are on the dark side. Whereas people who are on the same frequency as me are starting to resonate with what I'm saying, and they're now following my lead. You see what I mean? However, unlike everybody else, I was put here for that purpose. I'm a dark angel. Like people like Vladimir Putin and I, we're dark angels. We have to go into the underworld to get people out. Vladimir Putin has to go into the underworld to save children, to save even like Ukrainian soldiers from being killed so that they don't have their organs harvested and stuff. And yet he's called the bad guy, he's called the tyrant, the dictator, the whatever, because the dark side don't want the rest of the world seeing he's actually a saviour. He has been chosen by God to be a saviour of the pure and innocent. That's what a dark angel is. We go to places where demons fear to tread. My ex-husband wouldn't last 5 seconds in my world. Being around the human trafficking, the occult sacrifices, the organ harvesting, facing off against prime ministers and presidents and the NHS and doctors that are threatening to strap you down to inject you with things that you know are going to kill you if you can't get them out of your system fast enough, and all that sort of thing. My ex wouldn't handle 5 seconds, because see as well, you're up against people who care about what other people think about them, whereas a high functioning creative empath couldn't give two shits. We don't care what people think about us. We don't need social media's approval. We don't need other people's approval. And you don't have a lot of friends. You do not have a large social media following. You do not have a large social circle. You do not have a busy social life, because you're so consumed with working on what it is you're creating, and you're so internally working on yourself, you have no time for other people. And when you do have other people in your life, it's like a couple of people that you will have in your life, because you have no time for fake anymore. You have no time for the BS, and you're not interested in you being known. All you care about is your work being known, getting the album out, getting that book out that you put your life into, getting the science out there, getting recognized in those science papers. I would love for quantum magnetics to be recognized in science journals. That's why I keep putting all my evidence up, even when I've had glitches and made mistakes, or I've not understood exactly what I've put out. Until all the puzzle pieces come together, I put it out there anyway, because I'm using my work and my ascension as an example to others of what's going to happen when it's their turn. Because what happens to me is going to happen to other people. Obviously, you might not get locked up in hospitals and all that sort of thing, but a lot of them get put in jail. A lot of them go to prison. One of the reasons why I came up with my Beyond Life program, my comic book program, was because there's a few high functioning creative empaths who were in prison with my husband, who had charges against them that they didn't deserve, who were incredible artists, unbelievable artists, like just so talented and so creative, which is why when I decided to hand the Quantum Menace Battle of Two Worlds comic book that I'd written over to the inmate program, well, it was with the purpose of keeping these high functioning, creative, empathic inmates being constructive and not destructive, and having something to look forward to when they get out, because of how I've set up the program. But yeah, my comic book program is for incarcerated inmates that I had offered to El Salvador, because of his inmate program. But I can't have any involvement in that now because of um, his dealings with Elon Musk and Donald Trump that I'm not allowed to be a part of. Father forbids us from um, having any kind of association with the Antichrist and Lucifer. And because Bukele is doing things with them, I can't get involved in that now. So I've had to walk away from that. I mean, he's complete. It's not him. It's not anything to do with him. He's completely fine. It's me and my work. So I've got to find another I've got to find another prison or country that'll let me set my program up for the prison. But yeah, so what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, I mean, some of you will have run-ins with the law, though. Um, you'll often find as well that you'll get yourself involved in scrapes that you magically get yourself out of, that you don't know how you got yourself out of it. But it's because when you've been chosen to ascend, God will never put you on a path he can't get you off of. He will never put obstacles in your path that you can't climb over or knock down. He will give you the kind of mind to be able to turn obstacles into stepping stones, to turn roadblocks into roundabouts, if you know what I mean. So you will always have the comfort of knowing that because you are on the ultimate test of faith, once you come out of the underworld stage, God will always, always have your back. Even when you're down to your last couple of pennies and it's 2 days before you get paid and you've got no food, God will always, always get you to the end of that day till your money comes in. You will never go without. You might go hungry, but you will never starve. You will never go without. What he takes with one hand, he gives with another, and it will always come in unsuspecting, really surprising ways, because when you have peace, you have faith, and when you have faith, God always has your back. Another common trait is that you will have medical problems. You will have a lot of medical issues right up until you go through your ascension. Once you get to the creation frequency development, once you get to the creation frequency stage of your development, you don't get sick anymore. You will always know when something is wrong if you do, and you will always intuitively know how to fix it. I've been able to correctly diagnose everything that's happened in my body, why I've gotten it, and what to do to fix it. I haven't needed a doctor since 2016, I think. Other than when my ex-husband jabbed me with that needle, and I got that lump. I got that lump overnight that needed emergency surgery. I don't need a doctor. I'm never sick. I'm allergic to everything now. There isn't all the medications that I used to be able to take when I didn't love myself. I can't take any of them anymore. I'm allergic to all antibiotics. I'm allergic to all kinds of pain relief, including inflammation gel and ibuprofen gel and all that. My body can't have anything chemical near it now, because my vessel is so purified. But before then, I have a gluten allergy, but that's only because I live in a country where the wheat has pesticides in it. I'm hoping I can move to a country where they don't put pesticides in their soil, so then I can have normal wheat again. And I was always born allergic to eggs, which is why I could never have vaccines. Because all the vaccines, they test them on embryos, egg embryos and that, and I'm allergic to eggs, so I was never vaccinated. But High functioning creative empaths, they're smarter than that. Even though they might have food addictions and drug addictions and that, I haven't met a high functioning creative empath yet who got any of the COVID vaccines. I haven't met a single one, haven't seen a single one, because they're smarter than that. High functioning creative empaths do not follow the crowd. They are people who go against the grain. We swim upstream while everybody else swims downstream. So, so with relationships, the body, once you get to the creation frequency stage, you've lost a lot of weight. If you're overweight, if you're not overweight, you end up, like physically healthy, like because you'll work out, because you get so much energy, you have to burn it. So you work out, you'll go to the gym, or you'll pick up a sport, or you'll go for walks, or you'll take up cycling or whatever, because you have so much energy to burn. The last thing that I can think of, if I remember anything else, I'll put it in the description box below. But the last thing is, until you get to the creation frequency, you will be a night owl. You will have trouble sleeping at night. You will not be the sort of person that has a normal sleeping pattern. You are more creative at night between the hours of about 11 and 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning before you finish your ascension than any other stage. So up until you get to your 40s and that, you'll have trouble sleeping at night and having a normal like circadian rhythm, because of the fact that your brain is more active when you sleep than when you're awake. But for high functioning creative empaths, their brain starts going to sleep while they're awake, so they become more creative. And that's why they'll, with it's called insomnia, but it's not. They're in a massive stage of creative flow. So even though it's nighttime and their brain appears to be asleep, which is why they might, seem a bit sort of out of it and just like linear focused on what it is they're doing, it's because they are their brain is so active at night that they can't stop doing what they're doing until they're finished doing it. And they'll find they'll get agitated because they want to hurry up and finish doing it, but then they have to sleep, and they'll often sleep during the day, or then they've got to go to work or school, and then they're exhausted. And that is a really, really hard thing to have to get through until you go through the creation frequency stage of your ascension. But it is absolutely necessary, because it's that stage of your life where you're creating at night, where your brain is most active at night, where it is absolutely connected to the creation frequency and imaginal realms, where you're honing in your craft, because you are finishing that book, you are finishing that formula, you are finishing that algorithm that is going to become like a tangible thing at the end of it. And it's like you're like a freight train, you can't stop until it's done. And so but once it's out there, once you've put it out there, once people know the work that you've done, once it's complete and you're in the creation frequency, because then it's like, oh, I've done it, I solved the problem, I created the thing, I put the end on my book, whatever, then you can start sleeping again, and you'll sleep like the dead, like you'll sleep like a log. Sleeping will no longer be a problem. For those that are in there, well, I mean, I hate to say this, but high functioning creative empaths who don't complete their ascension usually don't get past the age of about 65, because it's either addictions or mental illness by that point that gets to them. Because the thing is, when you're called to ascend and you don't complete your ascension, you start to descend and you start to fall. A prime example of that would be Ozzy Osbourne. He never took his ascension. He never accepted his ascension. And so now, he's getting to a certain age and he's starting to descend. But most high functioning creative empaths don't get past about the age of 65. Obviously, there's examples to every rule, like Ozzy Osbourne. I think how old is he? I think he's older than 65. I'm pretty sure he's older than 65. Yeah, he had his, remember when the show first came out and he went off all the drugs, and he started like becoming lovable and known to everyone, and then he fell back down. Yeah, he's a prime example of what happens when you don't accept your ascension, because you're always given second chances. You're always given a second chance to make the first impression with God when it comes to an ascension. And people like him and Donald Trump and that didn't accept it. So now Donald Trump is another example of what happens when you don't accept an ascension. When you're offered the hand of God and you don't take it, everything comes down. Like, what happens is everything that could be used against you to tear you down, to ascend you, to basically defragment your atoms, can be used to help elevate you, which is what I was trying to do with Donald Trump. There were ways of being able to turn everything negative that was said about him into something positive. I was always able to, because I'm an ascension master and I help people through ascensions and I'm there for God, right? So if stuff came up about him, I was able to find ways to disprove the evidence or disprove the rumours. But when he got involved with Musk and he turned to the dark side, right, when he pushed the hand of God away, all the evidence that could be used against him is now being used against him. Do you see what I mean? So I'm able to twist and turn things in a way using God to dispel a lot of things that have been said about people. The other example of that would be Vladimir Putin. All the things that people have said about him, how he kidnapped those kids and all of that, but he was actually saving them. But nobody knows that he was actually saving them. Remember, there was all that hoo-ha about him human trafficking all those kids from the Ukraine. But no, what the media don't tell you, and what the EU and that don't tell you, is that he was actually rescuing them from being abused. Because that's what he does. He rescues kids and that from being human trafficked. But they don't want you knowing that, because they're the human traffickers. He's saving the kids that they want to steal. So they turn it around on him to say, oh no, he's stealing kids, but it's actually the other way around. So because God sent me there to be his guardian, I'm like, I find the evidence, I do the investigation, and then I say to God, no, he's definitely innocent. And then God's like, right. So then God puts that power of protection over Vladimir Putin and Russia, and they are untouchable. If anybody goes near them, if anybody says anything or does anything against Vladimir Putin or Russia, God and Allah, like the video I just put, God and Allah will come down on them with the hammer of Thor. Smash them. Absolutely obliterate them, like Keir Starmer. And like the EU and all the members of the EU. Absolutely obliterating them. Smashing them to pieces. He's not having it at all, because Russia's the Holy Land. When all this is over, Russia is the New Jerusalem. So, and he's there to be the protector of all of that, to make sure that it's, that that the new world is born from the seed of Russia. So God sends me in to watch people and to observe, and then my judgment, because I'm a karmic judge, and then I give my final appraisal, like with the West Yorkshire Police. And I said to God, they're corrupt. They did this, they did that, and now the West Yorkshire Police are under investigation for fraud and money laundering. And all the evidence is there on my ex. Like, I'm not allowed to lie. I can't make any of this stuff up because I'd get into a shit ton of trouble because I'm representing God and God doesn't lie. And that is the thing. When you are in the creation frequency, it is impossible to lie because you've come out of the underworld, which is hell. You've survived literal hell. And when you come out of it, you're only too aware of the fact that if you make one mistake, if you put one foot wrong, when you are in the position of being a leader to the masses, you'll go straight back into the underworld, and you never, ever, ever want to experience that again. So you become like hell bent on making sure that you are the highest version of yourself, that you are the best version of yourself, to avoid going back down, because you know what you've been through. And if it takes you 40 plus years to go from the underworld to the creation frequency, it could take you another 50 years to get back up there. Bugger that. I'm not going through that in my bloody 90s. No way. Like, you're scared straight. Basically, you have the absolute soul scared out of you. You're just, the stuff that you go through, you never ever ever want to go through again, because of the fact your ascension, and this is the last trait, your ascension creates immovable, uncurable PTSD. Because of everything that you've survived and everything you've come up out of, it leaves you with PTSD, but not the kind of PTSD that you can cure yourself from like childhood trauma and all that. It's the PTSD of the soul. You become so scared straight, you never ever ever want to do anything to create a karmic loop ever again, because karmic loops put you back into repeating the same cycle over and over and over and over again until you get it right, until you pay off the karmic debt or learn the karmic lesson. And when you're in the creation frequency and you've ascended and you're in that place of peace, if you put a single foot wrong, you go straight back to the underworld. Like, not the earth stage, not the air stage, not the water stage, not the ether stage. You go straight back to the underworld. And God, I had to put all my faith in God when those cops were standing there in that police station. The videos all on my, because I recorded the confrontation when the police officer PC Wright was lying. She broke the law. There were 3 police officers and a lawyer that broke the law on camera, recorded in the police station, to try and have me arrested. And they lied about the law to try and have me arrested because my ex-husband made a complaint about his rape victim stalking him online that had nothing to do with me, but they were fully prepared to have me arrested. And in order to do it, because I called them out for lying, they were then going to have me arrested for catching them out for being corrupt. So then, now they're under investigation. The whole police station, the West Yorkshire Police Station. Because God's like, okay. Because I said to God, this is what they've done. Here's the evidence. God's like, right. So now the West Yorkshire Police Department, the whole department, not just the cops that broke the law to protect their jobs, the whole department is now under investigation for fraud and money laundering. The evidence is all there on my ex, the whole department. Because when you mess with me, you mess with God. And because I'm here to save people, when you are up against devils and demons who are sent in your path to take you down, if you don't deal with it the right way, you'll go straight back to the underworld. And I had to, even in the face of lawyers and cops, I had to stand in that police station, literally stand and confront them and tell them, you're lying, don't lie, you're lying, that's not the law, you don't have probable cause, blah, 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 blah. They thought I didn't know what I was talking about because they assumed I was an idiot. She tried to make out like I had her under threat, that she was so threatened by me that she needed to put her camera on her vest because she was felt in danger for her life. But when all this goes to court and they play the tapes back of that police station and they listen to my recording of it, you'll see that they were the ones, they tried to back me into the corner. They cornered me. They like in a semicircle tried to corner me, but I'm 6 foot and I don't give a shit because I stand in my truth, because I live the truth, because I am the truth, because God is the truth and the life. And I'm a representative of my Father here on earth. And I was not going to let anybody lie to me by breaking the law, because the one thing I cannot stand more than anything in the world is anybody who represents law and order who lies and breaks the law. Judges and police officers. I've had to deal with the whole lot. These doctors that took oaths and they all broke the oath, all broke the laws. Anyone who breaks the law, anyone who breaks legal oaths, I hate that more than anything in the world. I can't stand it. And it makes me more driven and determined to get justice, because now, because I'm a karmic judge, I was sitting there saying, how many other people have been locked up and had charges put against them and even thrown in jail and put in prison because of corrupt judges and lawyers at that department, and cops like Keir Starmer and that. I was saying to my boy the other day, if I was ever Prime Minister, one of the first things I'd do is have every case he's ever worked on looked at, because I can guarantee you he's had people locked up and had charges put against them who are completely innocent, simply because they either found him out or because he was a threat to his puppet masters or something like that. I cannot stand people in positions of power in the law and, the justice system who break the law. Like, how dare you? Because now all I kept thinking about was there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent people that haven't been able to get jobs or visas or loans or anything like that because of corrupt judges and lawyers and police officers from the West Yorkshire Police Department who didn't deserve it. So now then it made me determined to get justice even more. So I will not give up, and I never will give up. And these videos that I'm putting out, I put it out there because you need to understand, if you are a high-functioning creative empath, they will come after you. These people in power will find ways to try and come after you. Keir Starmer's already trying to get me evicted. He's trying to get my money taken off me. He's trying to get me deported every week, every month now. I have to prove that I'm here legally to get my universal credit, which is why I'm so desperate to get off this universal credit. Why I keep pushing and pushing and pushing to get justice. Because when I get my lawsuit money, I can go off universal credit, take my kids out of the UK and go and live somewhere where we're going to have healthy food and sunlight and a government that isn't out to get us, because they understand that I'm actually there to help the children and not hurt them like my ex-husband tried to do. Because what you need to understand as well, you're going to be around a lot of narcissistic abuse, and narcissists will always, always accuse you of the thing they're guilty of, because they're mirrors, you see. So everything they do, they accuse you of. He is the child abuser. He's the one that's the sexual deviant. He's the one that does the drugs. He smokes cigarettes. He told me I had believed for all these years that he stopped smoking. Then I find out he never stopped smoking. He just doesn't do it in front of us. Although my son said, he smoked once in front of me. He's such a. He accused me of having a mental illness, and then he's the one wanting to do a charity motorcycle ride for his mental health, for men's mental health. So I'm the one that helps people, who cures them from mental health, and he's the one with the mental health, but he got with the mental illness, but he's the one that accused me of having a mental illness, because they mirror. Narcissists and psychopaths will mirror. He wears. And the other thing is, the Instagram, it popped up, it recommended I follow him on Instagram. He's turned his Instagram into childlike cartoons. His his picture, he's trying to copy me because I'm Mama Bear and I write children's stories and I'm all about the animation and the cartoons and all that. I talk about it. I talk about it. And then he suddenly changed his Instagram picture to like this cute little cuddly bear on a motorbike, whereas before it was all like he'd called his motorbike Lilith, which is the black moon, which is like he was all about death metal and the goth way, and like all that darkness. He called his bike the not the necrophile, not necrophile, necro bike, or necrocycle, or something like the death bike, the death cycle. And now all of a sudden he's trying to change his image to be more like mine, where it's like the kids' cartoons and that, because if you know my story, you know everything that I've been written. I'm getting into a business where we're making kids' cartoons and we're making animated movies and that. So now he's trying to portray this image of being like, oh, I'm just this lovely, cuddly teddy bear that rides a motorbike. And I said to my son, what the hell is this? Like, it made my hair stand on end. When you feel it up your spine? It just dark. I mean, he used to brag about the fact that him and his friends used to go to Edinburgh Zoo with pellet guns and shoot the zebras. They'd shoot the zebras and run off and laugh and all that. So yeah. Whereas like I'm a protector of animals and conservation, and we want to have like an animal sanctuary at our foundation where we take in all the like injured animals and strays and all of that, so that we can look after them for the kids that want to earn money learning animal husbandry and all that, horse riding. We want to rescue horses so that the kids can ride horses and earn money, like working at the stables and all of that, because we're going to need horses for some of our movies and all of that. So yeah, so he's trying to mimic me, and it's like the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life. He walks around with skulls and spikes and all that on his clothes. He dyed his hair purple. Oh my god. And now he's trying to come across like he's all cute and fluffy, because people have cottoned on to him, because people have started looking to him now that they know that I'm telling the truth. So he's trying to soften his image, because they know he stole my books as well. And so he's trying to soften his image. He stole my bakery. Psycho Bakes Wayfield is the bakery he started, and it failed. So now he's trying to soften his image, and it's the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, so I'm telling you now, if you're a high functioning creative empath, you are going to resonate with every single thing that I've said. And if you're not, you're going to hate everything about me, which just proves my point. We are a threat to society. We are the greatest danger to society, because we don't fit in with society, because we were born to stand out, not blend in. Because what we create and what we produce and what we invent and what we program and what we develop, in whatever field it is that you're in, you're born to be the master of. And you're born to make a change in the world, even though you didn't ask for it, even though you walked straight into it not realizing what the hell was going on. You're thrown in the deep end, even though you won't understand any of it until now. You are born to be something special. You're born to be a bright shining star, and my foundation is going to let those stars shine. You won't want the attention, you won't want the fame, you won't want the whatever, you won't want any of it, but you will do it, because you will know that the impact that you make on the world is so great. Once you ascend, it's no longer about you, it's about who you're here for, what you're here for, and what you're creating. So then you just have to, even though you're all introverts and you don't like the attention, you just got to learn how to deal with it, because it no longer, your life no longer becomes about you. It becomes about what you're here for in the name of God and your ancestors, or your gods and ancestors. But I promise you, high functioning creative empaths, by the time they get to the end of their ascension, whether they believed in God or not, will absolutely become a believer. Might not be the guy on a cloud with a white beard, but you will believe in God, because that's why he puts you through the ascension, to prove that you are his miracle that he's created on earth, to prove to the world that he exists, that God is real. And so is the supernatural, which is what I've been saying for all these years. The supernatural is real. And so he used me as the example. I am the template now for everyone else to follow, although your supernatural gifts won't be the same as mine. You'll all be like X-Men. Your gifts will be unique and individual to you. Though your children will have the same gifts from birth. You know how with orangutans, a 4-year-old orangutan can see someone doing something and then 6 years later have a baby, and that baby will be born knowing how to do that thing the orangutan saw the person doing, right? Using the tool or whatever. Your children are the same. I went through all of this, and my children are already at the same ability as me in their teens that took me to my 40s to master. So by the time they're my age, their time jumping abilities, their ability to use quantum magnetics to manifest, to manipulate atoms and manipulate energy to manifest their reality. Basically, when I speak it and write it down, I manifest it in real life. It happens in real life, i.e. the rain is a prime example of that. They can already do that stuff now in their teens that took me to my 40s to master. So by the time they're in their 40s and that, man, they'll have the power of God in their hands. I hold God in my hand, but like they'll be able to do it without blinking. It'll be nothing for them. And apparently I'm supposed to have another child, a daughter, and she's going to be even more powerful because of who her father's going to be. So there you go. Okay, so that was a big lesson. Oh gosh, hour 40, a lot longer than I was expecting. But if you are a high functioning creative empath, you're going to appreciate it, because I've just handed you a lot of answers. If you have any questions, go to the comment section in my YouTube or my Instagram, and I'll be happy to help you. But obviously, when I get my radio station up and running, I've still got to get my broadband, and that's just, everything's gone up: gas, electricity, rent, council tax, blah blah blah. So I want to get a VR unit to play with my boys. And I have to get broadband to do it. So I'm just trying to find a broadband place that will let me do a monthly contract as opposed to an 18-24 month contract, because I can't take it with me when we move. So I would be having to pay all that money for a service I'm never going to use. And I know that we're getting ready to leave now. So I want to be able to have broadband where I can just hand it back when I'm done. Or walk away when I'm done, and not have to worry about paying hundreds of pounds in a service I'm not using, because three are trying to like hammer me into a 24-month contract when I know our days here are numbered. So so I've got to do that still. I've just been so busy. God has been making me work my butt off. But it's to help everyone. It's to get justice. And now is the time. The time is now. So so then I can finish my stories and my books and that. But I really want to get my radio station up and running, have my internet radio station, and start putting everything up on podcasts, and like Spotify and streaming services and that, so that you know, I can have a further reach. You are rare. A lot of people are going to say they're creative empaths. A lot of people are going to say they're high functioning creative empaths. I just shorten it to creative empaths, or CE, but you're high functioning creative empaths. A lot of people will claim that they are, but I can guarantee you, you're probably 1% of the world's population. Not everybody's destined to be the next Michael Jackson. Not everybody in music is destined to be the next Michael Jackson. Not everybody in music is destined to be the next Mozart or Jim Carrey or Professor Brian Cox, or, you know, the experts in their field. Although there are a lot of astrophysicists and a lot of composers and a lot of musicians and a lot of dancers and a lot of comedians and that, not everybody's destined to have that level of immortality. Because stars are pretty much immortal, even though the ones we see in the sky are already dead. They've been there for millions and millions and millions of years. Billions. Because those kind of stars are immortal. So not everybody's destined to have their work become immortal. That's why you're so special. So don't let anyone tell you you don't belong, or that you're weird or different or don't fit in, or that you're unwanted, or they turn their back on you. Thank them for pointing out how special and different you are, because God wants you to be special. God wants you to know you're different because you're special, because He chose you personally. He handpicked you. And then He sent me to be the trailblazer so that you could follow without having to go through the trauma of trying to figure it out yourselves. I went first so that you wouldn't have to. But now that you are on that path, that doesn't mean that you are there to help other people. Like I said, don't go back down there. Just hand them my information, or just explain to them, I'm here for you, I love you. If, like, I can give you food, or you can sleep on my couch and that, but any of your traumas, or any, like, you've got to deal with this yourself. You have to find the answers yourself. You cannot hand the answers to people if they're not willing to do the work themselves. You're not there to carry their baggage. You're there to walk with them while they shed it. You're not there to carry their baggage. You're there to walk alongside them while they shed their baggage. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so my cereal's been sitting here for like an hour and 40 minutes now. So I'm going to go. I know this is a long video, but for those of you who are high functioning creative empaths, I know you'll appreciate it, because now you're going to go, oh, well, that explains my life. So you might often as well find yourself trying out a lot of different careers. You'll try a lot of hats on before you find your flow. You might have a lot of different jobs, or try a lot of different careers, try a lot of different hats on before you find the one that fits you perfectly. And when you find it, it fits you like a glove. Because a lot of you will take jobs that have nothing to do with your gift of writing or music or whatever, because it pays the bills, but you'll keep losing your jobs. It's because you're not meant for that. It's there to serve a purpose, but it's not what you're meant for. You're allowing yourself to be hammered like a nail into the ground. So you'll just keep bouncing from job to job to job. That's completely fine. If it's paying the bills, it's paying the bills. But just understand that your jobs will probably all be very temporary, because at some point when you come up out of the underworld, you're going to find and know exactly what it is you're supposed to write, that you're supposed to create, that you're supposed to invent, that you're supposed to design. And once you figure that out, man, you're like a Shinkansen train. Nothing will stop you. You're like a powerhouse. Bump, off you go. And then, yeah, when you reach your final destination, that's when you get off and everyone claps and cheers, because you've done something phenomenal that will change the world on a level that makes what you've done immortalized in history. Okay, so don't worry about it. You are, in the eyes of God, you're more normal than everybody else who is looking at you like you're different. So hold your head up high and know that you are loved. I promise you, you're more loved than you realize. And keep smiling. Don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. Oh, wow. You're perfect the way you are. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.